2 minutes from Mark. The Chuck Oliver Show on Southern Sports Today begins in exactly 60 seconds from Mark. In the South, it's always college football season, and the king of college football reigns supreme all year long. Southern Sports Today proudly presents The Chuck Oliver Show. It's an inside look at everything college football. Now live from Atlanta, Georgia, it's time to talk college football with the reigning king of college football, Chuck Oliver, on Southern Sports Today.
I've got a college football bombshell that I just cannot make work calendar-wise. It is the Chuck Oliver Show on a Thursday. I hope everybody is having a glorious existence today. By the schedule, we are 2 weeks and 2 days from Championship Saturday. And again, that is by the schedule. Well, my understanding, Dan, check this. My understanding is that we are actually 13 days from the early signing period, early signing day. I think it is still that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the 16th, 17th, and 18th, I believe. So 2 weeks from now, folks will be signing recruits. This college football bombshell I've got, I'm confident. I just can't make it work calendar-wise. Urban Myers is a head coach next season. That's going to happen. Urban Meyer will be on a sideline somewhere, I believe, next September. Now, the issue is, do you know what's supposed to happen this Sunday morning? This Sunday morning is when all the coordinators from the teams who won their divisions and played in a championship game, that's when the coordinators get hired at their first head coaching job. It's the Sunday morning after the SEC title game when Georgia hires Kirby away. It's the Sunday morning after the ACC title game when whoever hires Jeremy Pruitt, actually Bama took him, or Georgia did, I guess. It's that Sunday after the ACC title game, the Big 12 title game, the Pac, whatever it is, because the season is over at that point. We have bowl bids, we have all of this stuff out there. And it kind of comes to a head 2 weeks before early signing period. And so even if you're South Carolina, I'm trying to remember back, and it was Georgia as well, wasn't it? Back in 2015? That South Carolina, they waited like a week and a half after Championship Saturday when they hired Will Muschamp. It was like, maybe it was 6 or 7 days or 8 or 9 days. So you have a built-in buffer in every other season, and the calendar works. I don't know how the calendar works for this one. Now, of Urban being on the sidelines, I'm pretty dang certain. But the issue becomes it really should happen before early signing day, and I can't see that. You've got some jobs that are open right now. None that would hire Urban Meyer. No, excuse me. None that could hire Urban Meyer. I am certain, and I'll carve in stone, man, 11th commandment. There are plenty of ADs thinking, great, works for us. And then South Carolina or Vanderbilt or whoever introduces Urban Myers as their new head coach. But South Carolina or Vanderbilt, they don't have the option to hire Urban Meyer. Other programs that do, Michigan does. I'm just talking. Texas does. Folks, I'm just talking. There are a lot of programs that can hire Urban Meyer. South Carolina is not one of them. Vanderbilt is not one of them. Because do you know what has to be an element to hire Urban Meyer? You got to be able to win. So, yeah, I'm sure that right now some of the open jobs, they'd take him. But they're not legit options for a coach like him. This is all on Urban's timeline. And I'm not certain he's ready to get back in over the next 10 days. What he doesn't have, though, is a normal calendar. Like I said, I can't reconcile this based on the time of when this regular season and championship Saturday and signing day and what we always find to be the prudent calendar to follow when making a hire. But I know he's a competitor, and I know he's still a young man. I know that he is also a guy that in the past, keep in mind, at Florida, there was a stretch where Florida lost 2 games combined over 3 seasons. He was on the hotel room floor having a heart attack after the second of those losses. That's called wound a little tight. Then he quit, and then he unquit, and then he really quit. And then he realized, actually, I'm not quit at all. I'm going to Ohio State. And then he quit again, and he was kind of, hey, let's talk about something, Urban, because that assistant coach thing, beating his wife, and did you know about it? And so that was kind of ugly. And now he has sat out 2 seasons. Urban Meyer transforms your program. It's not an uptick. It's not an improvement. You suddenly become a player. If he decided, now I'm just going to pick random here. He decided to go to like Colorado if it was open. If he decided that he wanted to coach at Syracuse, they would be players instantly. And within probably 2 years, you're talking about a team winning a conference championship. And then after that, they're on the national stage. I'd give it about 2 full seasons. And then that's the status of the program. That's what Urban Meyer does. So I am more and more convinced that he'll be on the sidelines somewhere. I just have to figure out how to make the calendar work. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, you know what it is. It's a Thursday. We always bring in former Georgia Tech quarterback, Heisman Trophy finalist, Super Bowl champion with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Joe Hamilton. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame. He's going to come in. We're going to talk ACC next. That's right here on the Chuck Oliver Show.
With a BB&T checking account, stay on top of your money with all the right ingredients. Get free helpings to online resources and tools to help make your money grow. Manage your spending by receiving alerts. And help yourself to seconds on your money with cash back with BB&T deals. Open an account today at bbt.com/checking. Must have online banking to participate in BB&T deals. BB&T, now Truist. Member FDIC.
In the South, there's nothing better than fall and college football season. Whether your allegiance is to the red and black, crimson and white, or blue and orange, we can all find a little common ground on our beverage of choice, Larceny Bourbon. Larceny is 92 proof, small batch, Kentucky straight wheated bourbon, and it's so smooth it's criminal. So while everyone else is fighting over who stole the win, you can focus your time on some of the South's best bourbon in your favorite cocktail, on ice, or neat. Most importantly, Larceny reminds you to think wisely, drink wisely.
Hey guys, it's Joe Hamilton here with Brandon Addison from Low T Nation, and I'm the newest patient from Low T Nation.
That's right, man. Welcome aboard. You know, when guys become our age in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, they lose focus, they lose concentration, their energy levels are terrible, they start putting on fat, they start losing muscle, and that's what we specialize in fixing.
And if you can relate with any of that, check them out at lowtnation.com or call 866-FIX-LOW-T.
Allstate now has deeper savings, and deeper savings require deep thoughts and a deep voice, like mine. Save for being a new customer. Save more for adding DriveWise, and save even more for driving safely. Visit allstate.com or contact your local agent for a quote today. As someone once said, saving today is money tomorrow. That's deep.
Not available in every state. New customer savings based on early signing discount. DriveWise is an optional feature. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Here's farmer and landowner John Prue.
We purchased the land about 3 years ago, and there was an old farmstead on there with trees. We were going to clear the land so we could farm through it. We thought we knew where the pipe was, so we didn't call to get it located. The work on our property led to the damage of a light crude pipeline. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but it could have been much worse.
Never assume the location or depth of underground lines. Always call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com before you start work. A message from the Pipeline Operators for Ag Safety campaign.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Meet Ed, movie buff, animal lover, safe driver.
5 years of driving an ambulance teaches you a thing or two. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. When I see a car trying to rush past a turning bus, I get concerned. You see, when big vehicles turn right, they have to swing wide to make the turn. And that's a lesson you don't want to learn the hard way. When trucks and buses turn, let's you and I wait.
It's our roads. It's our safety.
Visit www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
If you suffer from COPD symptoms like shortness of breath and fatigue, where do you turn? There are medications and oxygen, but do you know about pulmonary rehab? 3 out of 5 COPD patients have never heard of it. Pulmonary rehab is an exercise, education, and support program that gives you tools to manage your condition, and Medicare typically pays for it. So whether it's grocery shopping on your own or just walking across the room, pulmonary rehab can help you. Visit livebetter.org to find out about your options for pulmonary rehab today.
Catch the king of college football no matter where you go with a new Southern Sports Today app. Catch the best college football conversation in the South everywhere with the SST live stream and daily podcast. Download it now at the App Store and the Google Play Store. Now more of the best college football talk in the country. It's the Chuck Oliver Show.
Got to be more creative. Got to be more creative and run the.
Chuck Oliver Show continuing on a Thursday.
It's time for The Game Plan with College Football Hall of Famer Joe Hamilton.
Touchdown, Georgia Tech. Nobody throws a fade better than Joe Hamilton.
Presented by Low T Nation. Get your game plan ready for optimized health at lowtnation.com.
And it is a Thursday, so you know who we're talking to, Joe Hamilton. Joe Hamilton, College Football Hall of Famer, former Georgia Tech starting quarterback, and he is our ACC expert. Joe, I appreciate you coming to the fold again today.
Oh, glad to be in here, Chuck. No doubt about it.
All right, we got some technical issues. We're going to actually move you over to this microphone over here real quick, so we will take care of that. And I want to ask you about something, Joe. It has nothing to do with the ACC, even though that's what I tell you we're going to talk about. We got Joe now. Is that good? Joe, you with us?
Absolutely, Chuck.
Fantastic. That you've got BYU answering a call to head to Myrtle Beach to play Coastal Carolina like a 48-hour window. Now, BYU was looking for a game because they're trying to add a game to improve their playoff resume. What do you do if you found out on a Thursday you're playing an opponent 2 days later, and you can put it against the backdrop of 2020, but this is not game planning for an opponent. This is, well, we're just going to show up and run our plays. Yeah. That is a totally different environment for a football player and a coach and a staff.
No doubt about it, Chuck. And what you want to have happen at this point in the season for your particular team or your respective team, for them to have an identity already. Because now you don't have to care about, you ever hear those coaches say, no matter who we play, we're going to establish who we are, whether you are a running team or a passing team, whether you beat guys up defensively, press corners, or have one high safety. Those teams are the teams that can adjust easier if you already know who you are. But if a guy is trying to figure out who they are during a game or in those 2 days or scouting or watching film, it's not really, really fair. So now you're going to have to try to lean on seniors. You're going to have to try to lean on the support group to get it done, but it's not going to be easy at all.
No, not at all. And like I said,
what happened to BYU, Chuck? Early on, they acted like they didn't want to play or didn't want to travel just to fill up their roster and get games in. Now, all of a sudden, as it gets closer and closer to the playoff, and the committee is now all of a sudden telling you that they are giving their rankings.
A little more flexible these days, aren't they?
Because they're traveling to South Carolina, my brother.
Absolutely. That was earlier in the year. I mean, BYU, maybe it was Houston or Louisiana Tech or somebody. They called them on a Monday. It was like, hey, can y'all be here Saturday in Provo?
Nope.
And so they're just trying to schedule games. They're saying, hey, can y'all come here? But at this point, they realize that there may be a playoff spot open. And so Cincinnati, BYU, they're all trying to get on the field as much as possible. Let's jump into the ACC. And simply through a scheduling change by the ACC, I think we have the entire title game set, but we definitely have one side of it. Because Notre Dame will not play on December 12th, they're in Charlotte. I think Clemson, they have to beat Virginia Tech to make the math work, but we know Clemson's going to get that done. Talk to me about that rematch, because there's one player that's going to be a little different than what happened up in South Bend a month ago.
It is, Chuck, but I'm not one of those guys that's going to count chickens before they hatch. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to see this matchup and all SEC, the ACC and SEC championship games as a coach. So, yes, Trevor Lawrence, he's going to make a difference as far as selling his team down offensively, defensively, making plays, not taking untimely sacks. He's going to do those things. But Brian Kelly and Coach in Notre Dame, they have a way that they can slow this game down. Up front, the beef on the offensive line, the beef on the defensive line, Hamilton as a safety, I like their chances. I think they have a chance to upset this whole thing that Clemson is automatically in there, no matter if they beat Notre Dame or not, and Notre Dame is in as well. I think Notre Dame can upset the world and kick Clemson out if they decide not to play defense. I'm not trusting Clemson's defense, and I know they lost their middle linebacker.
Yeah, they've been hurt. Yeah,
they've been really, really hurt. But again, those guys, and I'll put you in remembrance, the same team that lost to Clemson in the college football playoff in 2017, these guys are seniors now. These guys have been there. These guys know what it takes, and now they're more matured.
Yeah, that was a beatdown in Dallas that day as well. Continuing with Joe Hamilton, Low T Nation, brings him in every Thursday to talk ACC, as well as BYU and Coastal Carolina. Trevor Lawrence got back out on the field after basically for him, it was a month of not playing. And this is what I said on Monday. He made it look easy. And I promise you, folks, it was not easy. How do you not play for a month and then by the way, his first pass, if you saw the first pass, he was way off. And then after the first pass, it was like he had practiced the day before, played the day before.
It's something like you want to have coming out of training camp. Let me get that first hit out of the way. Haven't played in 5 weeks. That's the only thing you're going to have Trevor Lawrence lack. Because no doubt about it, Chuck, he got throws in. Maybe not timing with his wide receivers. He was in the film room. He can study film. He's definitely getting his mental part right. But when the game started, all he needed to make sure that my legs are still working to where it was working when I left off. I'm still able to take a hit. I'm not having happy feet as far as anticipating the rush. Those things bode very, very well for Trevor Lawrence. And I say again, the most impressive thing that I've ever seen about Trevor Lawrence and all the accolades that he has, he carries out every fake. He plays every single down like it's his last down ever playing. And for that to be your leader at the quarterback position, that speaks volumes.
Yeah, and I want to ask about one of their receivers, not necessarily about him, but the situation. They got a senior named Cornell Powell.
Yes.
And he's either a senior and maybe a fifth-year senior. I don't know. But here's what I know about Clemson receivers. They look like Sammy Watkins. They look like Mike Williams. They look like, Justin Ross. Cornell Powell, I love kids getting their chance, and especially a kid who waited. Talk about that concept in college, because there are plenty of kids that show up with 4 stars or whatever, and their whole career comes and goes, and they never get a chance. Cornell Powell, because of another kid's injury, he's like, screw that. I'm making the most of it. I love when a kid gets his chance.
Yes, I do as well, Chuck. And what about him being patient? And what about him being ready? How many times have you seen a guy go
and not transferring to Furman or wherever?
And how many times have you seen a guy all of a sudden say, Coach, I'm not getting the playing time that I like, and I'm out of here. But no, what can I do to get better? And not praying for anybody to get hurt, but circumstances happen, and you're ready to step in. And those are the guys, Chuck. When I've been in college and talking to college folks and being around the game, those are the guys like Powell you have recruiting for you when people come on their official visits. When people come in on the unofficial visit, or official, or come to watch a game, you want to surround him with the Powells of the world that can tell you about the culture, that can tell you what the Clemson Tigers and Dabo Swinney and his staff did for him. It's very easy to talk to the superstars. You know they had pretty much a really good career or really good experience because you won national championships. How the guys, the third string, the fourth string guy that may have not gotten the playing time they were promised or anticipated, how are they reacting? Those are the guys you want speaking for your program.
He spent 3 years running Wake Forest routes.
Talk to me.
Running Georgia Tech routes, running Virginia routes.
Yes, and never complained. And had all the opportunity, too, when things start reeling down and you can talk about your coach or you can talk about the program, he chose not to. So that's a feather in the cap of the Clemson Tigers and Coach Dabo Swinney about the culture they have established.
We're wrapping up with Joe Hamilton, Low Team Nation, on Thursdays. We always talk with him. And I want to relay a private conversation I have, so I'm not going to throw any names on this, but I was texting with a buddy of mine up at North Carolina, and I was like, look good at the start. His response, I don't want to read the text to you. His response was, after we got through the script, we didn't have any answers. And at the 15, 18 plays, whatever, he said, all week, he said, Chuck, I knew the script was going to work. He's like, when we got through with the script, we didn't have any answers. Talk about that.
I love it because that's when coaching comes into play and who you're going up against when you're coaching, because we're going to sit there from Wednesday, Tuesday, maybe all the way to Friday, coming up with our first 15. This should work because we can dictate what they're going to probably be in according to tendencies. But now what happens when you get with the upper echelon and the good teams, there's an adjustment within the adjustments. And you ran out of players. You ran out of players and you ran out of physicality. You ran out of manpower as far as depth and, overall skill set. And now the players that have been scouted and worked early, those linebacker eyes, they're disciplined now.
You look down that play sheet, you're like, where's the right answer? You keep turning it over.
Yes, and that's why it's going to never fail, Chuck. It's going to never, ever fail. When you're an offensive coordinator, you want to kind of constantly stay in third and medium. If you stay in third and medium, then you can look down. You can look down your script. You can look down the first 15 and find a play. But the minute it's starting to be 3rd and 7 plus, boy, you get in a struggle then.
I used to coach defense. I would, the flip side of this, I was like, guys, I ain't got nothing for you on 2nd and 2.
No.
All right, there's no good defense on 2nd and 2. I was like, I almost want to give them, I'll give you 3 yards
just
if we can just get back to first and 10 so I can get an angle on it. You know what it is, Joe.
Absolutely right.
And so when you start looking at that play, there's nothing worse when you see an OC still the same plays on the other side. Joe, I always appreciate you coming in on Thursdays,
lovely, man. Take care of yourself,
Thank
Chuck.
you so much. Joe Hamilton, again, joining us every Thursday from Low T Nation as we get into the final 2 weekends of a full-scale ACC schedule, except for Clemson and Notre Dame, and that is the big story. We got a lot more conversation coming up on that, including Greg Sankey's conversation, some of the comments he had yesterday. We will continue to talk about the ACC and what they have done schedule-wise. That's coming up next throughout the rest of the show, actually, on the Chuck Oliver Show.
This is head coach Kirby Smart. It's my job to coach the fundamentals of football and prepare my guys for the future. Well, my friends at Southeast Mortgage are preparing you for your future by becoming a homeowner. Every Bulldog deserves a home. If you're in the market to purchase or refinance, I trust Southeast Mortgage to provide the best experience and get it done. Visit southeastmortgage.com/UGA to get pre-approved for your home loan today. Southeast Mortgage, the official home loan lender of the Georgia Bulldogs.
Southeast Mortgage of Georgia Incorporated, NMLS, number 103956, Georgia Residential Mortgage License number 6578.
Remember in the beginning, when you first started to build a life for you and your family, you never imagined it would come to this. Instead of living your dreams, you're living with debt. In fact, it's smothering you. Now there's a way you can take back control with one simple call. If you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt, you qualify to receive a free, no-obligation consultation on how to get rid of that debt for good. Call the Debt Helpline now. We work on your behalf to reduce your debt. We specialize in credit cards, retail store cards, and medical bills. One simple call is all it takes to get the ball rolling to a debt-free life. Stop living with debt and start living your dreams. Call the Debt Helpline now.
800-957-6063. 800-957-6063. 800-957-6063. That's 800-957-6063.
You can now watch The Chuck Oliver Show, streaming live on Twitch. Stream the full show live on Chris Landry's Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Chris Landry Football. It's live video of the King as he breaks down this unprecedented college football season and gets you the latest breaking news as things continue to develop. The Chuck Oliver Show, live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Chris Landry Football.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section, when Dad injured his back, when your basketball star tore his ACL. Opioids helped with the pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Opioids are powerful pain-reducing prescription medicines, but most people who are prescribed opioids don't finish their prescriptions. So millions of unused opioids are sitting in homes across the country. And tragically, more than 100 Americans die every day from overdoses involving opioids. What can you do to protect your family? Remove the risk of unused opioids from your home. Pills, patches, or syrups in drawers, purses, and cabinets, anywhere they might be hiding. To find out how to dispose of them properly, visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Meet Ed, movie buff, animal lover, safe driver.
5 years of driving an ambulance teaches you a thing or two. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. When I see a car trying to rush past a turning bus, I get concerned. You see, when big vehicles turn right, they have to swing wide to make the turn. And that's a lesson you don't want to learn the hard way. When trucks and buses turn, let's you and I wait.
It's our roads. It's our safety.
Visit www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
If you suffer from COPD symptoms like shortness of breath and fatigue, where do you turn? There are medications and oxygen, but do you know about pulmonary rehab? 3 out of 5 COPD patients have never heard of it. Pulmonary Rehab is an exercise, education, and support program that gives you tools to manage your condition, and Medicare typically pays for it. So whether it's grocery shopping on your own or just walking across the room, Pulmonary Rehab can help you. Visit livebetter.org to find out about your options for pulmonary rehab today.
It's always college football time in the South. Now back to more of the king of college football, Chuck Oliver, on Southern Sports Today.
All week, all year, it's all college football on the Chuck Oliver Show. 9 states, 48 sticks now. Jackson, Tennessee, what's up? 48 sticks now listening to us every day, so I appreciate everybody putting that blessing in my life. And our next guest, he's a blessing when it comes to talking Georgia football. He's about the best in the business. Close personal friend of mine from The Athletic. It is Seth Emerson. Seth, welcome back, brother. How are you today?
Chuck, I'm doing well. I was actually thinking of tweeting out that I'm about to go on with one of my favorite people, Chuck Oliver, and he's one of my favorite people because I've never actually spent that much time in person with him.
Yeah.
Mostly we're just over the radio.
Yeah.
Now, there was that time in Vegas where we randomly ran into each other.
That is probably the longest we've, quote, hung out is I saw you and some of your reprobate friends out there placing bets on the ponies. And I was like, Seth, you're like, we come here every day for the Kentucky Derby, or every year for the Kentucky Derby. So when it comes to Christmas gifts, I want to talk about this first because I was lucky enough to get this a couple of months ago. But Attack the Day, you and Kirby Smart, the download of the Georgia program since he got hired. The book's been out now for a little while. How's it going?
I think it's going well. They don't give me access to sales and whatever, but Actually got a nice email from somebody in the Midwest, I forget where, I think maybe Michigan the other day, saying that they don't really have any connection to Georgia, but they bought the book because they wanted to see what it was like in big-time college football and what it was like inside a program like that, and that it fulfilled his expectations and that they really liked it. So, yeah, I mean, if you're a Georgia fan and you haven't read it yet, I'd encourage you to get it. And if you're just a fan of it, college football, I hope that there's some interesting stuff in there, some perspective on college football in general.
As far as the current season goes, what up with the quarterback position? And specifically what I'm asking is, I could only come up with two reasons that JT Daniels was not playing earlier. Either he wasn't cleared medically or he wasn't cleared by Kirby. Like Kirby wasn't comfortable with it. And that could be performance, that could be injury, that could be whatever. Those are the only two scenarios. Either the doctor said no or Kirby said no. Am I leaving something out?
I think there's a middle ground there where it wasn't so much Kirby said no as Kirby and Ron Corson, the athletic trainer, and Todd Monken looked at it and looked at him in practice and said, not yet. He's not ready yet. And I think something that also gets lost in this is what a lot of people say is after the Alabama game, why didn't they go to JT Daniels at that point? He has said, Kirby has said, that they at that point did give JT Daniels some first-team reps in practice, and they decided to stick with Stetson Bennett. I think part of that was still some confidence in Stetson Bennett because, I mean, we kind of forget he did rescue them against Arkansas. So he did look good there, and then against Auburn and Tennessee, and they were doing okay against Alabama. They were ahead until late in the third quarter, and then the wheels came off. So I think they were seeing some things out of JT Daniels that they said he's not ready yet, and we still have confidence in Stetson Bennett. And, things went okay against Kentucky. Ugly game, but they still won it. And they didn't really even try to pass it much. Nope. It just became a run fest. Then the Florida game happens, and at that point they say, okay, it's time for a change. We think JT's ready now. And that's, I think, where the murky area then leads to the criticism of how come if he was ready that next Monday, like the day or 2 days after the Florida game, they know they're going to JT Daniels. Why wasn't he ready before that? And that's when you get into evaluation, where before that, they still thought Stetson Bennett gave them the best chance. How much of it was JT Daniels' health figuring into it? That's the question.
If we look at Jake Fromm, it's easy to say, and I've heard this, and, Seth, I probably even said it, I'm sure I have, that he wasn't any better as a junior. Now, that's not true. A quarterback who plays another, 25 SEC games, all right, he is better as a junior than a true freshman. But I will translate that statement. The production, the Saturday-to-Saturday on-field performance from Jake Fromm, it didn't look very much better as a junior than it did as a freshman.
Correct.
Why? What's going on with the quarterback situation? And, I mean, you can go bird's eye. Seth, you go satellite image, all right? Go as high as you want. Since Kirby got higher because you wrote the book, what's up with the quarterback spot?
That's going to be the huge thing for Kirby going forward is he has to prove that he can properly evaluate that position. And I think, and I've gone back and forth with this with some of my colleagues. I mean, I work for a national company where, a lot of our national voices and people from outside Georgia have been pretty critical of Kirby. And I've kind of spoken up for him, and I've said every one of Kirby's decisions on quarterback over the years, going back to Jacob Eason and Jake Fromm, has been defensible. The issue is that everything since Justin Fields left has kind of blown up in Kirby. You and I were both here. We both know that they couldn't have just dispensed with Jake Fromm and said, we're going Justin Fields by Jake, But Justin Fields goes and does what he does, which everyone could have seen coming. Everyone knew that was going to happen once he went to Ohio State in that offense. But then Jake Fromm regresses the way he did as a junior, and you're right. He was better. He didn't, forget how to throw. It's just the production was off. And then Jake Fromm leaves, so prevented the chance of him having this big senior season to atone. And I think if Jake Fromm had returned for a senior year, Georgia and Jake Fromm would be much better off right now. But then Jamie Newman opts out, and then they don't go to JT Daniels right away. And once JT Daniels goes in, everybody says, where was he before? Mm-hmm. Even though if you go by the timeline and the explanation, it was defensible. So going forward, they need to have JT Daniels in place in 2021 and Brock Vandagriff waiting in the wings, and they need that to play out that way. They need it to work. Kirby needs it to work, or else it's just going to be, I mean, imagine if it doesn't. And imagine all the criticism that's going to be headed his way.
Seth, wrapping up with Seth Emerson from The Athletic. I'm going to tell you, like, from my perspective, and this goes back now, I'm trying to remember, like, maybe it was the 13 or 14 seasons when I was still doing Conference USA Game of the Week. I got to know Todd Monken a little bit at Southern Miss. And like I said, it's been like 6-7 years now. But when he got hired, I said, here's the guy I remember. A little loose with his language, which I find funny sometimes, the way he puts things. Mike Bobo, same way. I said, but he is a very bottom-line guy, and he does not strike me. What I remember from him is not a guy who was going to have a head coach dictate to him play calling or depth charts or anything else. So my question to you, when it comes to each individual aspect of this, whether it is the two deep or the play calling, the scheme, overall, whatever, how much of 100% is Todd Monken really in charge of, in your opinion?
And I have to say opinion, because it's not something that we're able to talk to Monken during the season and read body language, hear what he says, that kind of thing. He hasn't been here long enough for him to develop relationships that lend its way to leaking and, you know, stuff getting out to people like me. But I tend to believe what you were kind of indicating. Would he have come here in the first place if he didn't think he would have autonomy? And I think he does. And I think that's reflected in how Georgia is playing. If you watch them, they are opened up. They are passing the ball a little bit more. The receiver routes are better. Receivers are getting open. And it seems to me that, I mean, can we point to an instance this year where they seem to be running more than they should? You know, where you would say, oh, Kirby must be ordering him to do this. I'm not really sure. I mean, nothing really jumps out. I mean, if anything, they were passing it too much in some instances.
Yeah, and like the South Carolina game, I know that I've had conversations. Well, you know, they should have thrown it more to get, you know, stretch out JT. And I was like, well, South Carolina just watched him throw for 401 yards and said, we're running dime all night. I mean, they weren't going to let that happen.
No, they were they were winning that game going away. So no, why would you put the ball in the air? I mean, I think even people were complaining, why didn't they put in Carson Beck to get some experience? And it's like, you know, I think that people need to understand they think they're better off giving Carson Beck a bunch of practice reps, and that's any young quarterback, rather than seeing him throw one or two drives in garbage time against South Carolina.
Is Richard LeCounte back this weekend?
I don't think so. I would target the bowl. I think he's getting his way back, but I think he wants to suit up one more time as a Georgia Bulldog, and the bowl is probably that opportunity. But you never know. I mean, they've got one more game, presumably next weekend at Missouri. If it's December 19th, maybe even a better chance that he gets back before the bowl.
Trey Hill?
Probably out for the season. When I heard that, I heard about it last night and was looking for a second source. Got it confirmed this morning. When I tweeted it out and broke it, I kind of soft pedaled it. You know, it's one of those things. My source was saying, he's probably out for the year, almost certainly out for the year, but I kind of soft pedaled it. You know, you never want to.
Oh, I've done that. You got to change the language you're told so that you don't burn your source.
Right. Or like you look stupid. Like, you know, the person may be wrong, but if you're a little more cautionary on it, but I'm pretty sure this is especially with Georgia out of championship competition.
Okay. Well, see, I was talking about, like, I got the inside scoop one time where, like, Virginia Tech and Tennessee were playing in the Chick-fil-A Bowl. And so what I did is you got to tweet out, I'm hearing it's Tennessee and either Virginia Tech or, you know, NC State. That's how I always cover my tracks.
Yeah, and I do that to a fault, and I probably do it way too much. And this was an instance, where I could have broken it last night. Yeah. But, better that. And you know what? I've screwed some up, too. And when I've screwed up, I'm still bothered by it. I jumped the gun on DeAndre Swift turning pro last December, and I screwed up, and I atoned for it. I personally apologized and shook DeAndre Swift's hand before the Sugar Bowl and apologized to him in person. I mean, I burn up with it. So I'd rather soft pedal something and have someone else go a little bit further and be right than me be wrong.
Yeah, that's about 10 years ago. I announced A.J. Green was getting a 2-game suspension, and I still remember that. So anyway.
He was suspended 2 games, to be fair.
Oh, say that again?
He was suspended 2 games.
Oh, yeah, and then an additional 2 games.
Right.
So it was a pair of 2-game suspensions. So I did get it right. Seth, I've been waiting a decade to feel better about that. Correct me if I'm wrong, the threat level Saturday is 0%?
Yeah, I mean, it's 0. The main thing I'm rooting for or watching for, whatever. I'll put the objective journalist thing aside. I'd love Sarah Fuller to score a point so I can write about that. I'm searching for another angle that's interesting other than that. And at this point, I'm not even sure Vanderbilt can get a point, and I'm not even sure if she'll be the kicker. It might be the one from last year, since he's on the team now and cleared. So I don't know. I do plan on going and writing something, though.
Last question for you. And this is, by the way, this question is not a me making a statement about the Georgia program or this year's roster or the kids or anything, because it could be Georgia. It could be any team in America who was in Georgia's spot where realistically their goals this year are kind of gone. For lack of a better way to put it, Seth, how much do the players still care about this season? Because it's weird, man. And I'm telling you, there are rosters all over America that I'm looking at right now, and I'm going, they're not engaged anymore, and I kind of get it.
If the season had ended this week, then I think you would actually look at what Kirby Smart has done, and I risk being accused of being a homer by saying this, but I think you would look at this and say he deserves credit. I mean, other than Jamie Newman, they haven't had any opt-outs that we know of, and that was before the season. The COVID stuff they've kept that to a minimum. That Ron Corson and his staff deserve the most credit on that. But and they went out and they showed up and beat South Carolina, like a drum. So far it looks like they're still emotionally in it, and maybe some of that deserves credit to a good senior class, particularly guys on defense like LeCown, Monty Rice, guys like that. And then also a lot of, maybe it helped that JT Daniels is in there at quarterback. You got almost a little bit of a fresh start now, and there's maybe and the way he played against Mississippi State kind of gives the whole team a spark going down the stretch.
All right. Well, assuming that the stocking is big enough, where can someone get Attack the Day?
If you Google Attack the Day and Seth Emerson, you will get it at many fine platforms, whether it's Barnes & Noble, Goodreads.com, Amazon. Locally, I always promote Avid Bookshop in Athens. They have their website. It's available there. So all fine places.
You know what, Seth? I think you just actually took a backdoor way to get Seth Emerson trending. That's all. You want a bunch of Google searches for Seth Emerson.
A Google search thing is fine. Not on Twitter.
No.
I've trending on Twitter. That's bad.
Yeah, I've trended on Twitter before. I got home from a certain SEC championship game, and I turned my phone back on, and it said text messages 99+. That's not a good thing. Let me just go ahead and.
I don't remember which one you're talking about, except I do. But
we'll fill in the blanks later. Seth, always appreciate the visit, brother. Thank you.
Anytime, Chuck.
All right, Seth Emerson from The Athletic.
You've heard liberal Senator Chuck Schumer.
Now we take Georgia, and then we change America.
And radical liberal Congresswoman AOC.
We win these races in Georgia so that we don't have to negotiate.
Now here's Senator David Perdue.
No negotiation. Think about that. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and John Ossoff want total control. They win Georgia, they'll have it. Illegal immigrants, voting. Police, defunded. Taxes, sky high. Our proud military, gutted. The Supreme Court, packed. Is any of that really what you want? It's easy to say, that'll never happen in America. But that's exactly what they've told us they will do. We're the only ones left who can stop them. We win Georgia, we save America. I'm David Perdue, candidate for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message. Paid for by Perdue for Senate.
Looking for cheap flights or cheap tickets? Call the low-cost airline travel hotline now for prices so low we can't publish them anywhere. We'll even save you money with cheap travel deals on hotels, rental cars, even complete travel packages. Call us first for the absolute cheapest prices on U.S. and international airline tickets and hotels. 800-452-4846. 800-452-4846. That's 800-452-4846.
If you love baseball as much as you love college football, you have to check out Hardball with Chris Domino, a weekly podcast giving you a first-person perspective of the biggest moments in baseball history for the guys who were there to witness it. From Stan Musial to Ted Williams, it's one-on-one with true baseball legends. Download Hardball at thepodcastpark.com or subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Hi, Grandma. Can Nina come over for dinner?
Sure. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma!
If anyone ever does, I want you to say, no, I have too much respect for my family and I don't want to get in trouble.
I promise, Grandma.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
Here's farmer and landowner John Prue.
We purchased the land about 3 years ago, and there was an old farmstead on there with trees. We were going to clear the land so we could farm through it. We thought we knew where the pipe was, so we didn't call to get it located. The work on our property led to the damage of a light crude pipeline. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but it could have been much worse.
Never assume the location or depth of underground lines. Always call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com before you start work. A message from the Pipeline Operators for Ag Safety campaign.
Building relationships during recovery from mental and substance use disorders can put the strength of family and community behind you. We're all connected, offering encouragement, support, and hope. Join the Voices for Recovery. Strengthen families and communities.
For confidential information on mental and substance use disorders, including prevention and treatment referrals for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Meet Ed, movie buff, animal lover, safe driver.
5 years of driving an ambulance teaches you a thing or two. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. When I see a car trying to rush past a turning bus, I get concerned. You see, when big vehicles turn right, they have to swing wide to make the turn. And that's a lesson you don't want to learn the hard way. When trucks and buses turn, let's you and I wait.
It's our roads. It's our safety.
Visit www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Now back to the Chuck Oliver Show on Southern Sports Today.
We got to be more creative and run the football. We got to be exact in our protections, and we got to protect the quarterback. We got to get our guys open. We don't have Terrence Marshall. So here comes DeRay Jenkins. Here comes Corey Moore. Here comes Trey Palmer. Here comes Keyshawn Butte. John Trey Kirkland. It's their turn. They got to show up.
Coach O talking with actually who we're talking to next hour, Jordy Culotta, a good buddy from he and T-Bob, Off the Bench, the morning drive show, ESPN 104.5 in Baton Rouge. That was Ed Ogeron talking what they need to do against Alabama, talking about what they need to do offensively versus Alabama, and everything he said. And I don't have a transcription of it in front of me, but I believe I can remember. He said, "Got to run the ball." I think he said, "Got to be creative." Maybe got to be creative. Got to run the ball. Okay. We got to be good in our protections. And he said specifically, we have to protect the quarterback, which is true. You have a freshman playing, actually true freshman playing. And then he went to the latest to leave the program, to leave the team. And actually he's leaving the program because he's done now, Terrence Marshall, after Jamar Chase opted out before the season started. And by the way, you know what? I got a story for you about that. And it's not anything like violent, no weapons, not criminal arrested back of a police car or whatever. I got you the Jamar Chase story. Once that kid, no, I was about to say combine. After he has been drafted and signed his contract, I will tell you why Jamar Chase didn't play football this year. And then Terrence Marshall decided that he was out as well. You know what? I had enough. I'm going to the pros. He starts going through the receivers. And he talked about Boutte and John Trey Kirkland, a bunch of other kids. And he's right about that. And everything he said, run the ball, protect the quarterback, other kids, it is your turn. Yeah, if you're a true freshman and you're thinking, well, I just signed a place where they got Chase and Marshall coming back, but y'all get on the field some. Well, there's no Chase and Marshall. And even though you're a freshman, you're looking, well, we got this freshman tight end, and we got a freshman running back, and we got another freshman receiver. It's to the point where if you can show up and you're healthy and you produce just a little bit, you may get a lot of an opportunity to be on the field. And so that's what Coach Orgeron was talking about. The issue is it may not matter against Alabama. That this is, last year's LSU team may be as fine a college football program team as I will ever see. And, I think back to the Miami team that won the national championship out in the Rose Bowl over Nebraska. I have the 85 Oklahoma team, which was a totally different era and totally different mindset. They would run the ball about, I'm not kidding, folks, 65, 70 times on a Saturday. And they would beat Missouri 80-6. So but those are some of the greatest teams I've ever seen. LSU just a year ago, that's what they were. I'm already looking at Alabama thinking, why am I not? I haven't put them there. I'm like, why am I not putting them there? Do I just need to see the rest of the season play out? And if they get a national championship, maybe that's it. But that is the quality of opponent that Ed Orgeron is talking about. Maybe Boutte will step up. And maybe John Trey Kirkland will step up. Yeah, maybe. But maybe when you play Arkansas or Missouri, not when you play Alabama. So Saturday night, though, we're getting the ball game, and there was a minute where I wasn't sure that we would. Dan Matthews, how are you today?
I've had a saying on here on the show that I can never blame somebody for doing what's in their best interest. And in the case of John Swofford in the ACC, I, for one, cannot blame him for saying we've got Clemson at number 3, we've got Notre Dame at number 2. Why are we going to mess up a good thing and have them play another game when we could just have them go to Charlotte, battle it out from there, and hope that the committee takes 2 of us if it's a close enough win and say, hey, one loss, yeah, let's get them there. I also understand Greg Sankey saying, no, I want to play a 10-game schedule, and it would be very interesting to see what they would have done in Charlotte had they had their teams just on the outside looking in. And that's an all fair point as well. But I also think that this is something for Greg Sankey that doesn't need to be a punching up or punching down scenario for him. It didn't even necessarily need a response. He's getting Alabama in no matter what. And if Alabama does lose to Florida in that game, then he doesn't have to worry about Alabama being out, because the way that they've played all season, 9, 10, 8 games, they've proven that they're the best team in the country, and they've proven that they can have a rough Saturday afternoon. I, for one, don't necessarily want to put them out there next week to have that as an opportunity for them to be able to set up for a chance that they are not as strong going into that game against Florida, whereas you could have them both going in, playing their best football at that time, maybe even having a chance at the time with the committee having Florida at number 4, because Texas A&M, to me, is out. Their quarterback has them out of this. I don't even think that they are a factor, because if they do even have a chance to be in the college football playoff, it won't go in their favor if they are the 4th team in the country. So in this case, I just think that this was a scenario for Greg Sankey where he really could have just avoided the bait and really just could have gone about his day and just said, hey, you know what? We'll at least have one team there. And if things go the way we think they can, we might even have 2.
Yeah, if you look at the current college football playoff rankings, what Sankey was referring to is that Notre Dame and Clemson are currently in. So all you have to do is not screw things up. And that means that maybe, giving you an off week for the ACC title game, et cetera. Whereas Texas A&M and Florida, for instance, his point was they're at 5 and 6 right now. Pretty good chance I'm not going to announce, you know what, A&M and Florida, you're not getting on the field anymore. Don't worry about it. He was questioning Swofford and the ACC strategy. And actually not even questioning it. He's calling them out. And he's right. And Swofford don't care. He's a man who's already announced his retirement. His goal is to get 2 teams in the playoffs.
Attention. This is a public notice from the Social Security Disability Helpline. If you're one of the millions of Americans who are disabled and unable to work, you may be eligible for disability benefits from Social Security. Receiving benefits is your right. If you suffer from physical or mental disability, whether you're applying for the first time or you've already been denied, we can help. We'll evaluate your situation and deal with Social Security on your behalf. Best of all, there's no fee until you receive your benefits. Remember, we only get paid if you win your case. There are many reasons and conditions that may make you eligible for disability benefits. Many of them you may not be aware of. So if you're disabled and unable to work, call now to get started with your free, no-obligation consultation.
800-380-4429. 800-380-4429. 800-380-4429. That's 800-380-4429. Paid for by QuickAid.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man age 45 non-tobacco user, $1 million of coverage is only $75 per month, level for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco user can buy $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110. Guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rates for 20 years. And if you're a smoker, we have great rates for you as well. At the Term Lifeline, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. So if you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call right now for a free quote.
Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes are based on preferred non-tobacco underwriting exam required to qualify. 800-805-4914. 800-805-4914. That's 800-805-4914.
Now more college football talk with the king of college football. It's the Chuck Oliver Show on Southern Sports Today.
One of my favorite guests the entire week from College Football Matrix, which is his own deal. He got a laptop and he was like, I know how to do ones and zeros. I'm going to create a statistical model which predicts future outcomes if you hire Coach X, Coach Y, or Coach Z, and he is great at it. The number one source for football ops peoples and ADs and coaches everywhere, it is Dave Bartoo. Dave, how are you today?
Dude, I'm doing great. I inadvertently last week, I had a bucket list conversation with one of my coaching clients. Because as you know, I got nothing to do with coaching. I'm not X's and O's. I don't watch film, none of that stuff. But I'm finding that lack of experience is actually becoming useful because I look at things differently.
You're not biased.
Right.
Or
I don't do it the way things normally are done. And I had a coach asking me about rotating players. Like, I got a really good up and coming kid, but he is raw. He makes mistakes. And he's like, the normal rotation is this. This is how we rotate the players in, so they know that, every 2 downs or whatever the system is, this is when they come in. And I said, well, and so we started talking about that. And I said, well, if that's your concern, then let's try to mitigate his risk. Keep him next to you. Put him in situation. Have your other two guys rotating normally, and put the freshman in situations that allows him to, even if he makes mistakes, they're not as amplified. 1st and 15, you go in, he makes a mistake to give up 7 yards at 2nd and 8, not 2nd and 2, 2nd and 3. The things like that. Don't put him in on 3rd down because. That put your experience in there. We started talking about these things and trying to do things and how to do things differently. And it was just a great conversation to be part of that process and trying to figure out new ways to do things, more efficient ways, better ways than just the good old status quo.
All right, that's such great information, and there are so many things like we've talked about on just random Tuesdays when we've had you on. There's one factor though that I don't even know how you can quantify what I'm about to ask you, but much less fix it, because I think something that Mike Norvell is realizing down in Tallahassee it's not just a culture problem. I think that culture was rotten. I think that there was so little accountability. There were so little demands on the players. Everything was good enough. And it's kind of like, you remember when Dennis Franchione got hired at Alabama? He showed up, and then they told him how bad the probation was. Then they told him how bad the NCAA stuff was. I think that this is a version of Mike Norvell. He showed up in Tallahassee thinking, I know we got a culture issue, but we'll fix it. I think as much as the offensive line or quarterback play or whatever, and I don't know how you quantify how bad that is or how you go about fixing it. It ain't easy or quick.
No, it ain't going to be quick, right? I mean, I think that's the first thing, is that there's no quick turnaround here. And, you know, in terms of the lack of discipline, I find it interesting, and I want to do more research. This is one of those yellow sticky notes that's sitting on the wall, is doing more research in terms of the discipline and results of programs after a head coach leaves that is poor at penalties. Okay, and I'll give you an example. Willie Taggart at Western Kentucky, at least 1 year at Western Kentucky, led FBS in number of penalties.
Don't doubt it at all.
Willie Taggart at South Florida led the FBS in at least 1 year in penalties. Okay, this guy it's a perennial bottom 10 number of penalties per year. And I wonder if there's any sort of correlation between penalty discipline and cultural discipline. You know, because we've seen USF just absolutely fall off the radar since then. That program is a fraction. It is a shell. It is a nothing of where it used to be. Oregon, it was 1 year, and Cristobal's been turning that around. And now you have.
Hang on. Do you know the subset of his 1 year at Oregon? When he had Justin Herbert, the 6th or 7th, whatever he was, overall pick, he was 7-0. When he didn't have the 7th overall pick, he was 0-5. Like, I mean, you talk about give me a good player and I might win. I need more than that from my head coach. I better have really good players or I can't win. I can't have that as my head coach.
Oh, no, he's terrible. I've said that from day one. Same thing at South Florida. Who was the quarterback there that was just bingo?
Yeah. Dave, it's always great catching up with you, brother. We'll do it again in 7 days, I promise.
Thanks, man.
In the South, it's always college football season, and the king of college football reigns supreme all year long. Now more college football talk with the king of college football. It's the Chuck Oliver Show on Southern Sports Today.
We kick off hour 2 of the Chuck Oliver Show on a Thursday, and we're doing it right now. It's going to be a lot like the first hour. Much college football conversation. That's what it's going to be, except it's going to be with some different guests. We're going to be talking LSU with Jordy Culotta, our good friend from 104.5 there in Baton Rouge. That's going to be coming up in about 10 minutes. We're going to present the LSU side of things, heading into Saturday night's battle. And then Zach Abolverdi going to talk Gators football. Zach got a new gig a little bit, I believe. So good for Zach. We'll be talking UF football. Like I said, that's the bottom of the hour. But right now, I'm going to get you up to date.
Everything you need to know about college football every single day. This is CFB 365. Presented by Ecoderm. Text Ecoderm to 31996 now for your free sample of Ecoderm Pain Relief Cream and CBD from Frank Thomas. Text ECODERM to 31996 now.
Headline, Las Vegas Bowl canceled due to coronavirus pandemic. The Las Vegas Bowl has become the latest, not the final, has become the latest bowl game to remove itself from the calendar this year. It won't be rescheduled. It won't be moved to later or anything. It's just not going to be played this year. And it was going to be at the Raiders' new crib. It was going to be the first time it went from Sam Boyd, which is... It is a regulation-size patch of fake grass. That's what Sam Boyd is. But it was going to be the first time the Las Vegas Bowl was not at Sam Boyd Stadium. And it was going to be in, is it Allegiant Stadium? I think that's where the Raiders, that's who they sold the naming rights to. And that's a reason to go. You know, when you have, I don't know, Oregon State and San Diego State playing in a bowl game, what's the reason to go? Well, because you're not a big enough VIP that you couldn't get Cirque du Soleil tickets, but they got you Las Vegas Bowl tickets? That's why you may go. This time, you're going because it's right behind Mandalay Bay, and you're like, oh my gosh, look at that beautiful, shiny joint. But it's just not going to happen this year. Unfortunately, you're going to have to wait another year, and I've been to the Las Vegas Bowl. I've had a good time out there, but it's because I got free tickets, and I wasn't big enough, gambler to get free Cirque du Soleil tickets. Headline, BYU replaces Liberty as Coastal Carolina opponent. Folks, BYU has replaced Liberty as the Chanticleer's opponent for this week. For 2 days from right now. BYU was looking for games, and BYU couldn't find anybody, and as of about 36 hours ago, thought that they would not have a game at all this weekend, and BYU really, like Clemson and Notre Dame, they don't want to play. According to Dabo, Florida State doesn't want to play. A lot of teams don't want to play. BYU is saying, please let us play. And when Liberty had to bow out of Saturday's game, everybody's saying Myrtle Beach. I think it's Conway, which is about 15 miles away. From Saturday's game at Coastal Carolina, Brigham Young's like, we'll make the trip. And Coastal Carolina's like, bring it on. You know what you have here? You've got 9-0 Brigham Young, 9-0 Coastal Carolina. Folks, it's not a play-in game, but it's a playoff game. You can be in the playoffs without winning a title. You can be in the playoffs without reaching the championship game. I'm talking like NFL, NBA, like expanded playoffs. You can be in the playoffs without actually winning anything. That's a play-in. This is already a playoff game. You only get to keep advancing if you win Saturday. BYU and Coastal Carolina, one of them is eliminated on Saturday. That game's going to kick off at 5:30. It's going to air on ESPNU. Game day is going to be in town. They're making a big deal of it. Good for them. Final headline. Quarterback McKenzie Milton enters transfer portal. I know that name, don't I? Yeah. How about, let me expand the headline. UCF Knights quarterback McKenzie Milton has entered the transfer portal, and it is now, oh, wow, we may be within a few days. It may be like almost to the day 2 years since that gruesome, awful, terrible injury. I believe I was watching the SEC title game, and Memphis and UCF were maybe playing in the background, and he gets hurt, and it's just awful. So he's been rehabbing for 2 years, and he has decided that he will jump into the transfer portal. Hadn't played in 2 years, been dedicating everything to the surgery, the recovery, the rehab, everything else, and he will have another 9 months before he hits the field again. Remember, this year does not count eligibility-wise. So the fifth-year senior, he can come back next year as a fifth-year senior, and it'll be at a different school. So I hope he is healthy enough and recovered and can play ball. Consider yourself up to date. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Come back with more college football talk next.
With a SunTrust checking account, stay on top of your money with all the right ingredients. Get free helpings to online resources and tools to help make your money grow. Manage your spending by receiving alerts. And help yourself to seconds on your money with cash back with SunTrust deals. Open an account today at suntrust.com/checking. Must have online banking to participate in SunTrust deals. SunTrust, now Truist. Member FDIC.
Hey there, Florida. That's right. I'm talking to all of you. From all the way up in the Panhandle to all the way down in the Keys. The new Florida Lotto has been upgraded for all of us. It's got prizes bigger than a Florida rocket launch. Almost as many ways to win as there are teeth in a gator's mouth. And odds better than a day at one of our beautiful Florida beaches. So get on out there and play our game like only we Floridians can.
Try the new Lotto today. The Florida Lottery. It's your ticket. Must be 18 or older to play. Play responsibly.
Attention Medicare recipients and anyone turning 65. Medicare has approved new benefits not included with original Medicare and older Medicare Advantage plans. You may not be getting all of the benefits you're entitled to, including in-home aids, telephone appointments with your doctors, home-delivered meals and prescriptions. These benefits may be available and it's a free call to enroll. The new plans may also offer free eyeglasses, free hearing aids, free wellness visits, and gym memberships. Call the Medicare benefits line now. It's easy. Call 800-340-1290. 800-340-1290. Find out if you're eligible for new benefits like meal and prescription delivery, in-home aids, and telemedicine. Some plans may have a $0 monthly premium or zero copays for big out-of-pocket savings. Not all Medicare Advantage plans are alike. The new plans have more benefits for many people. Call 800-340-1290. 800-340-1290. 800-340-1290.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Here's farmer and businessman James Wood.
We farm about 3,500 acres. There's pipelines everywhere. The contractor working on my property did not have the lines located before he began work, and it resulted on a strike on a natural gas pipeline. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but it could have been much worse.
Never assume the location or depth of underground lines. Always call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com before you start work. A message from the Pipeline Operators for Ag Safety campaign.
If you suffer from COPD symptoms like shortness of breath and fatigue, where do you turn? There are medications and oxygen, but do you know about pulmonary rehab? 3 out of 5 COPD patients have never heard of it. Pulmonary rehab is an exercise, education, and support program that gives you tools to manage your condition, and Medicare typically pays for it. So whether it's grocery shopping on your own or just walking across the room, pulmonary rehab can help you. Visit livebetter.org to find out about your options for pulmonary rehab today.
Catch the king of college football no matter where you go with a new Southern Sports Today app. Catch the best college football conversation in the South everywhere with the SST live stream and daily podcast. Download it now at the App Store and the Google Play Store. Now more of the best college football talk in the country. It's the Chuck Oliver Show.
LSU and Bama getting at it Saturday night in Baton Rouge. Tigers are a 29.5-point dog. The previous season's national champion being a 29.5-point home dog. Again, the very following season. In the past 40 years, that has not happened. And Auburn in 2011, they're the only other team to be a 20-plus point underdog. And that was the end of the season. Alabama and Georgia that year, they beat them, I think, it combined like 90-0. And so Auburn was really, 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 really bad. Actually, going into 2012 is when that was. But LSU obviously not having the season that they were expecting or wanting or crossing their fingers and toes and hoping. I mentioned it yesterday. If just by observation you look at LSU, you say, well, they've won one fewer game than they've lost. They've scored one more point than they've allowed. That's basically a 500 season. That's an even. That's an average. That's not what LSU has been. LSU has not been average this year. LSU has been really, really, really good on a Saturday, or they look like they hadn't practiced. And the reality is, for some of them, they haven't practiced. And there has been either a combination of injuries, COVID, kids checking out, It had a lack of performance. It has been just about everything that you could throw into a gumbo, and that's why LSU season is what it is. Want to welcome on right now a man who talks all this and more every single day on 104.5 there in Baton Rouge. It is Jordy Culotti. Jordy, welcome, man. How are you doing today?
Chuck, thanks for having me back, man. Good to be back.
Give me the math equation. We're 7 games in, I believe, 3-4 LSU. Give me the math equation. This plus this plus this plus this equals where we sit with LSU entering Saturday night's game.
Look, they're dangerously thin at some severe spots when you talk about their roster management. I think that they'll probably take a sub-60 number into the game on Saturday night when regularly teams are playing around, 78 to 82 scholarships per average from an SEC team. LSU has just been habitually has been under that mark, and this season being a glaring example of that. As you pointed out, coming on in the intro, that they've been hit by all types of episodes, whether it be COVID or people opting out or people just being disengaged throughout this 2020 season. There has been storylines everywhere with the defending national champs, and not a lot of them have been good, Chuck.
All right, give me some context, if there is context here. All right, connect some dots that maybe I'm not aware of if they exist. Terrence Marshall, all right, from the outside, it looked like, he stood up a few weeks ago. Look, I don't say a lot, and I just want to tell you how much I love LSU, and I'm not opting out, and blah, 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 and we got to play better. And then 2 weeks later, this isn't fun anymore. Tell me where I have that wrong.
No, you don't, because that's how it went down, and everybody you speak to, whether it be his teammates or his coaches, have the same sentiment. I mean, people are, they give Terrace the not the benefit of the doubt, but they trust his decision making, that he's making the best decision for him and his future. But a lot of people are curious on his message a couple of weeks ago on, speaking in front of the room and telling them how much he had to play for and how much he was invested into the team, and how he was urging people to get on that mindset and get on that train with him. And I think that somebody or some people with ties to the next level got with him and his family and said that they've seen enough. And I don't think that Terrace wants to risk that in playing. I don't understand it. I don't think a lot of people understand it, but that's someone making a personal decision that he sees best for him and his family. And who am I? Who are we to argue against that? So but to answer your question, Chuck, it was absolutely sideswiping news for not only the LSU fan base, but for his his teammates and for the coaching staff to hear that Marshall was opting out the Sunday after losing to Texas A&M.
Give me a success story, an individual player or a unit, a position group. Give me a success story from this year. Is it Ojulari? Is it John Trey Kirkland? I don't know. Just pick somebody that in the midst of what this season is, tell me who, Ed Ogeron and the rest of that staff can look at once the final game's been played and go, all right, well, we got some blue sky here.
Well, I think, from an individual standpoint, immediately you have to look at Micah Baskerville on defense just over the last 2 weeks, the impact that he's made there. I mean, look, they played good enough to win that game Saturday night in College Station. They didn't get any help from the offense. I mean, that's for the first time all season, the defense is getting to the sideline asking the offense to pick up the slack, and a lot of the reason for that has been Micah Baskerville, 2 weeks in a row leading tackler. He's always around the football. When just looking outside in for the football program, that's one of those moves and decisions where you're saying, how has Damone Clark been playing over this guy for so long when you see the production at Baskerville and just kind of the mindset that he brings the defense once he gets onto the field. To get onto the offensive side of the ball, I think Arik Gilbert, from that neck of the woods from Atlanta, is a shining bright star into the future for the LSU offense. I mean, he has been the centerpiece of many game plans for LSU. I'd imagine that they try to expose him and put him one-on-one on Saturday night, especially with Marshall being out. You think about people who have to step up. They've talked a lot about using Gilbert as a wideout just as much as they use him as a tight end. So I think he'll be showcased on Saturday night, and I think he's somebody that you look at on the offensive side. You say, look, man, there is an absolute star there in the making that you can build around for the future. And Chuck, look, 2 freshman quarterbacks have played and gotten significant time in the SEC through 6 weeks. Though they haven't played well at times, they've shown some bright spots, but all in all, it's been very inconsistent. But this is very good experience and applying some skins to the wall for the future for LSU football.
Wrapping up with Jordy Culotta again, 104.5 ESPN yonder in Baton Rouge, where we're on later in the day as well. Jordy, I want to ask you what the threat level is on Saturday. Like, give me the path. Tell me how LSU wins, because I've got a background. I was a competitor 100 years ago when I was younger and my shoulders weren't wrecked. But I always know, man, it's sports. There's always a chance. There's sports. I don't like -3 on turnovers and a special team score. Other than stuff like that, I don't see how LSU has a path to winning on Saturday.
No, I would absolutely lay the 29 points. That feels like a steal. When you look at it from this point of view, this is a down program right now, Chuck. This is LSU coming into this game against the number 1 team in the country, who's looking to not only revenge last season's loss, but to make up a game that should have been played a couple of weeks ago against an LSU team that has just got the news that their best players out and playing with, under 60 scholarships. I don't see a path that says LSU has an advantage anywhere. And it feels like 29 points is not enough when you look at the matchup just on paper. Now I imagine that Orgeron will motivate the guys that he has available to get out there and represent the program and represent the university. But Alabama's bringing in a lot of seniors, bringing in a lot of upperclassmen, a lot of guys that have been in that program for a while, going up against a lot of fresh faces for LSU with not a lot of experience and a lot of uncertainty about kind of where they are in their status. So it's not a good scenario when you look at it for LSU.
Last thing I want to ask you about, because I'm forgetting something, maybe is LSU. Are they gonna be in line, do you believe, for a December 19th game? Obviously, they got Bama on Saturday and then Florida, and they're going to get matched up to get a 10th game on the 19th. Any inkling about how that's going to work out?
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be Ole Miss as they'll play the Rebels in Baton Rouge on December 19th. And they are, the SEC obviously trying to play as many games as possible to fulfill the SEC network contract.
And that's what I wanted to ask you about, because it'll be another home game. They got Bama obviously this week, then on the road, and then it'll be home on the 19th against Ole Miss if that's the opponent, which it's supposed to be. What's been the environment? We got about 60 seconds left. What's been the environment around the stadium, game day? And I'm talking like as you've gotten into the season and it's clearly gone off the rails.
Oh, yeah, not good. Look, this is the LSU-Bama week, Chuck. Rarely do you get anything done in Baton Rouge during LSU-Alabama game week with people looking for tickets, with people just raging with interest on Saturday night, especially when it's at home being hosted in Tiger Stadium. But there's nothing there. I believe that they have 25% capacity on Saturday night. It would shock me if they have 15% full for LSU. I'd imagine that Alabama will bring their full capacity that they're allowed, but LSU's got not a lot of interest around LSU football right now.
Yep, and then Florida. And I've told everybody, I was like, if you don't understand, it's just with the fans, but if you don't understand the LSU-Ole Miss thing, I was like, y'all are really missing out. That is one of the least known deep rivalries, and LSU will at least have a chance to end the season against somebody that maybe make you feel better going in the offseason. Jordy, I appreciate it as always, brother. Thank you.
Always, Chuck. Thank you.
All right, Jordy Culotta again, 104.5. Dan, I'm right about that. I mean, LSU and Ole Miss, and it's almost like only those two fan bases are aware of that rivalry. Yeah, I can't hear you, Dan. Your mic's not on.
It's one of the biggest ones there is. I mean, there's a reason why there's the whole go to hell Ole Miss and everything that comes with it.
All right, there. Appreciate it, Dan. Ole Miss, like I said, they're going to be added to the December 19th, and that'll wind up wrapping up the schedule.
This is head coach Kirby Smart. It's my job to coach the fundamentals of football and prepare my guys for the future. Well, my friends at Southeast Mortgage are preparing you for your future by becoming a homeowner. Every Bulldog deserves a home. If you're in the market to purchase or refinance, I trust Southeast Mortgage to provide the best experience and get it done. Visit southeastmortgage.com/UGA to get pre-approved for your home loan today. Southeast Mortgage, the official home loan lender of the Georgia Bulldogs.
Southeast Mortgage of Georgia Incorporated, NMLS, number 103956, Georgia Residential Mortgage License number 6578.
My mom's a breast cancer survivor. The United Breast Cancer Foundation saved her life. Their free breast cancer exam caught the cancer early, and it saved her life. But now the foundation needs your help so they can continue offering free or low-cost breast screening exams, saving more women's lives. Help them by donating your car, whether it's running or not. They'll provide fast, free 24-hour pickup, and you receive a charitable tax deduction, plus the great feeling you'll get knowing your donated car is going to help save more lives. Just call
800-525-3204
to set the wheels in motion. They take cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs, running or not.
Call 800-525-3204.
The United Breast Cancer Foundation needs your help, and your donation could literally save women's lives, helping them catch breast cancer early, like they did with my mom. Donate today.
Call 800-525-3204. 800-525-3204.
If you love college football, you need to subscribe to the Chuck Oliver Show podcast or download it every day at southernsportstoday.com.
All the coaches, all the insiders, all week, all year. Every day, Monday through Friday, it's your home for college football.
It's 2 hours of college football talk every single weekday from the king of college football himself. Subscribe to the Chuck Oliver Show now, wherever you get your favorite podcasts, or stream the show live at southernsportstoday.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
My name is Jackie. I'm a mom and a survivor of cancer caused by HPV. I know how important HPV vaccination is for cancer prevention. You can protect your kids. It's as simple as getting your girls and boys the HPV vaccine series when they are 11 or 12. Let's get our kids vaccinated on time. Make an appointment today. For more information, visit cdc.gov/HPV and talk to your child's doctor. HPV vaccine is cancer prevention. A message from the CDC.
Hey, I'm Rodeo Clown JJ Harrison. Now, if you've ever seen me in the arena, you know I like to have fun, take chances. But I also take safety very seriously, because rodeo clowning can be dangerous, but so can farming or ranching. Never assume location of depth of underground utilities or pipelines. Before you start work, always call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com. It only takes a minute, and it can save your life.
Always call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com before you start work. A message from the Pipeline Operators for Ag Safety campaign. Here's farmer and landowner John Prue.
We purchased the land about 3 years ago, and there was an old farmstead on there with trees. We were going to clear the land so we could farm through it. We thought we knew where the pipe was, so we didn't call to get it located. The work on our property led to the damage of a light crude pipeline. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but it could have been much worse.
Never assume the location or depth of underground lines. Always call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com before you start work. A message from the Pipeline Operators for Ag Safety campaign.
Now more college football talk with the king of college football. It's the Chuck Oliver Show on Southern Sports Today.
All week, all year, it's all college football on the Chuck Oliver Show. And there are some phrases that you only use ever so often, like new high school counselor. My high school, I don't know how yours was. It was like a combination, like high school / old folks home. And I remember in particular the librarians, the media specialist, and the counselors. They got those jobs. You couldn't get them out of there with a crowbar. And you went there to retire. So you didn't say, like, new Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. You don't really say that very often. New Florida Gators beat writer for the Gainesville Sun. Not really a phrase people are saying very often, and we're saying it right now for a guy we've had on the show and have for a long time, and he does a great job covering the Gators. And now for the Gainesville Sun, it is Zach Abolverdi. Zach, welcome, brother. Tell us about the gig.
Oh, man, Chuck, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. And, yeah, it was it's an exciting week. Obviously unexpected because of Pat Dooley and Robbie Andrew retiring and getting a chance to take over for Robbie, who I worked with at the Gainesville Sun for 5 years as a correspondent, and kind of got, my start in this business, and just being able to kind of, take over for him and get his blessing. It was amazing, man. And I was kind of overwhelmed by all the tweets and support yesterday. And, when I got into this business and went to UFJ school, obviously this is, definitely a dream job, and kind of a job, like you said, that everybody kind of hopes to get if they're covering the Gators. So for it to happen for me, I'm just beyond grateful.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that you don't even – I'm not trying to make too much of it, but you don't even really think about, well, that's the job I'm going to get because of who was already in the chair. And exactly. So it's just it's an awesome gig, and I'm so happy when people get their shot. And so I know you're going to do a great job with it. Let's talk about the product on the field. This is about the best compliment I can give Kyle Trask on so far this season. After Saturday's game, somebody who did not watch is like, "How'd Trask play?" And I was like, "It's pretty good." It was like 380 something and 3 touchdowns, I believe. And I looked at it, I was like, yeah, he was pretty good. Just give us the download of Kyle Trask to this point in the season where that performance is just kind of middle of the road.
Yeah, I think it speaks a lot about kind of where he's at and the standard that he set with some of his performances and career highs and all the numbers that he set. It's just been ridiculous kind of week after week. And he's kind of come back down to life the last 2 weeks, so to speak. He's only thrown 3 touchdowns, and he hasn't thrown for over 400 yards. So maybe taking a step down a little bit. But at the end of the day, I think it kind of speaks to where he was at before the year and all the things that Dan Mullen kept telling us about him, being a redshirt senior and that he was operating the offense at a quote-unquote graduate level. We're seeing it. And I also think it does speak a lot to him, though, Chuck, that the last 2 weeks he's had a chance there in the fourth quarter to keep him in the game and maybe get over 400 yards or maybe throw that 4th touchdown. But he's had Emory Jones in there, and he's had him instead getting those numbers. And he's clearly, not trying to have Trask go for a Heisman campaign. He's kind of just trying to let the numbers do the talking. But when you kind of get down to the nuts and bolts of it and the numbers that he's putting up, it's impressive. And for me, I think the most impressive thing all year, Chuck, is that 2 weeks that he had without Kyle Pitts, because it was very easy to just look at him and the numbers he was putting up to start the season and point at that guy that he was throwing the football and say, well, that's the reason why he's so good. He threw 6 touchdowns in the first game, and Kyle Pitts caught 4 of them. And then his first game without Kyle Pitts, he throws for 6 touchdowns again. So he's really had a special year. And like you said, when he doesn't hit those numbers, people think he's had an off day.
And it's funny because, obviously, Kadarius Toney, he hasn't had a real explosive year. And I want you to talk about how teams are defending him because, he lit it up. I think it was Arkansas a couple of weeks back. But, like, Georgia, it was pretty clear to me. Georgia was like, somebody else may beat us. It ain't going to be number one. Even the other night, I think he only had 3 or 4 catches. But beyond Toney and then Pitts getting in the end zone all the time, it's been kind of the same. Malik Davis, Trayvon, everybody just kind of in that 15 to 20, 22 catch range. There are so many weapons that Kyle Trask has gotten involved this year.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the thing that's most interesting because you looked at the 4 wide receivers that they lost, 3 of whom are on NFL rosters, and you thought there's going to be some type of a drop-off, and instead Trask has put up even better numbers. And to have guys like Justin Shorter, I think the Penn State transfer, former, 5-star recruit. Him and Trevon Grimes have both of those guys running out there. They came to UF as transfers, but both of those guys used to be 5-stars in high school. So they got a lot of talent that they've kind of stockpiled there. And Trask just does a really good job of dissecting defenses, and he's not, predetermined to go to one guy. And we've even saw with Pitts going out there, you take him out of the lineup and backup tight end Kamora Gamble has 2 touchdowns, and then the next week the other backup tight end Keon Zipper has 2 touchdowns. I mean, the show doesn't stop. And but a lot of that is the credit of Kyle Trask and certainly Brian Johnson-Moan for getting him prepared.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be funny here, certainly not at a kid's expense. Zach, there was a Rick Wells sighting the other day.
Yeah, I know. I tweeted that. I tweeted that as a first down catch for Rick Wells. And that's, look, I mean, for him to decide to stick around knowing how loaded that room is, I think it speaks to certainly his resiliency, but also the fact that they do have a number of ways that they kind of get guys involved. And I think Dan probably wants to set the school record for a number of guys that have caught a touchdown pass in one season. I think they're at 12 right now, and they're going to try and push that here probably before the year's over.
You got eligibility left?
No, I'd rather throw the pass than catch it.
All right. Let's talk about Saturday's game up on Rocky Top. And, I always look at it this way. I was talking earlier today, Georgia Vanderbilt, what's the threat level? Well, it's 0. Tennessee could win this game, absolutely, if it was like a video game, and I say this all the time, that if it was just about speed ratings and strength ratings and all that, if it was Madden, yeah, Tennessee could win. When you throw in context of what's going on with that program right now, they are an absolute grease fire right now. Talent-wise, they could win. I think where they are mentally, I don't think they got a chance on Saturday against Florida.
No, and it's probably going to take one of those performances from the Gators where they come out and have a slow start offensively, which we've seen the last 2 weeks, as prolific as they've been, Chuck. In the last 2 games, they found themselves trailing 10-7 in the second quarter.
Yeah.
So they've had their moments where they haven't been that great offensively. And then we know on the defensive side of the ball, the past couple of weeks they've pitched some second-half shutouts, but they've also given up some huge plays. And I think it was a stretch there. In 2 games, they gave up 3 one-play scoring drives of 75 yards plus. So if Tennessee can get something like that and have some confidence and feel like they're competitive in the first half, that'll keep them in it. The fact that it's going to be a bit chilly weather in Knoxville, that could certainly play a factor, but everything pretty much would have to go right for them to slow down this Florida offense. But it is, a team, I think, on the offensive side for Tennessee that if they were going to be able to exploit this Florida defense, they do have the capability to hit some big plays in the passing game, and we've seen the secondary give some of those up this season.
Oh, absolutely, and take horrid angles on some run fills, et cetera. Wrapping up, Zach Abolverdi again, Gainesville Sun. Tennessee, LSU, and then it's the SEC championship game. I'm going to go ahead and say that. We don't preview games 2 weeks out, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you because we got you on the phone now. Just top of mind without doing the deep dive, et cetera. Can UF win in Atlanta?
I mean, they can win, but they would have to play literally a complete game, have their full roster, and neither of those things that they've had this year. And that's what Dan Mullen has tried to talk about to his team this week. Yes, you can go out there and clinch the SEC East on Saturday, but more important is getting yourself better for that trip to Atlanta if you're going to have any shot at beating Alabama. And they're going to have to play a complete game, one of those games where they either don't have a slow start offensively or can't put teams away in the second half, which we've also seen from this offense, and then defensively where they got full starting lineup, all 11 guys, and they don't give up the big play. And they play with consistency. They'd have to have a perfect game, but can they do it? We'll see. I do think that obviously, like you said, that's going to be the matchup. Dan Mullen has gotten this program and this team to the point where they needed to be in year 3, and now we'll see if they can get over the hump against Bama.
How healthy are they right now?
They're very healthy. They're at kind of the best that they've been kind of all season. They still got some guys that are banged up that they're hoping to get back, but I don't think, they have 69 players that have gotten COVID, so they're not going to kind of really go through another outbreak situation, knock on wood. And, if they can stay healthy for these next 2 weeks, that might be the most at strength that they've been going into that Crimson Tide game.
That's awesome stuff, brother. I appreciate you making time coming on today. Thank you.
No, thanks for having me, Chuck, and I appreciate the kind words, man.
Absolutely, man. It's well-deserved. I'm so happy for you, folks. Zach Abolverdi, Gators beat writer for the Gainesville Sun. We were talking earlier about Greg Sankey and Swofford and what's going on there. And, we've got a Power 5 commissioner in John Swofford. He is getting to push a button that virtually none of us ever get to push. And it's the, what are you going to do, fire me button? Most of us don't ever get to walk into a building with that attitude of, I don't care if you fire me. I don't have to have the job. In fact, with John Swofford, he's already announced he's retiring. So he really has boiled down what his priorities are. It's not, getting elected again or being appointed or getting a new contract. He's already announced he's retiring. Swofford and the ACC, they gamed the playoff system for this year with their announcement about the scheduling for Notre Dame and Clemson on December 12th. They're going to give them both a bye week and boom, straight into Charlotte, furthering the likelihood, not guaranteed, furthering the likelihood that Notre Dame and Clemson both wind up in the playoffs. The conference is getting two in. That's my opinion. After Clemson wins the ACC title game, and Greg Sankey, among others, is very much not happy, and he's talking about it, as we mentioned earlier. He's saying, he made not some comments specifically about the ACC, didn't name them, but that's who he was talking about. I don't blame Sankey for being mad, but I also know Swofford is on his way out. And if his last act as commissioner, if the kiss goodbye is getting Notre Dame in the conference as a football team and two teams in the playoffs, if that is his closing act, he's going to ride an elephant out of Greensboro with like rose petals strewn in his path and like naked dancing ladies lining the road. And when he finally gets home, there's going to be like an F-150 full of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. He got Notre Dame in the conference as a football program. And then finally the ACC's getting two in. He's an all-time ACC hero. And he's retiring. So, yeah, Swofford don't really care at this point, Greg. He will leave his successor to deal with the bad faith residue, to work all that out, which Sankey also referenced. I thought we had a spirit of working together. I would say, when was that ever present? But Swofford, he pushed the button almost none of us ever get to push. What are you going to do? Fire me?
You've heard liberal Senator Chuck Schumer.
Now we take Georgia, and then we change America.
And radical liberal Congresswoman AOC.
We win these races in Georgia so that we don't have to negotiate.
Now here's Senator David Perdue.
No negotiation. Think about that. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and Jon Ossoff want total control. They win Georgia, they'll have it. Illegal immigrants, voting. Police, defunded. Taxes, sky high. Our proud military, gutted. The Supreme Court, packed. Is any of that really what you want? It's easy to say, that'll never happen in America. But that's exactly what they've told us they will do. We're the only ones left who can stop them. We win Georgia, we save America.
I'm David Perdue, candidate for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message. Paid for by Perdue for Senate.
Is your bathroom looking old and worn out? Want to update it, but you don't know where to start? Then let BCI Bath & Shower show you how to turn that old bath into an aisle of beauty and functionality. Our residential bathroom solutions provide the best value on the market, and our customer service is second to none. Our cost-effective BCI Bath & Shower family of products has what you need.
Remodeling our bathroom was a big decision for us.
They didn't make a mess out of our house at all. And at the end of the day, we had a beautiful new bathroom. And it was a great experience the whole way through.
We have the best monthly payment programs in the industry, with payments as low as $68 per month, or no interest, no payments for 18 months. That's right. Get the bathroom of your dreams now and pay for it in 2021. Call 1-800-329-4115 for a free no-obligation price quote. That's 1-800-329-4115. When you want quality bathroom products at a great price, it's got to be BCI Bath & Shower. That's 1-800-329-4115.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
I received a call. I did not expect to hear the worst because she was very good at her job.
Cheryl worked with her daughter Kristen, who was killed in a highway work zone.
My first day back, and this older gentleman, and he actually bumped into me and had to explain my daughter just died last week.
When you approach a work zone, think of these real people. They're America's transportation workers, the beating heart of mobility. A reminder from the American Traffic Safety Services Foundation.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with an SPF of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Now back to Southern Sports Today and the Chuck Oliver Show.
Thursday on the Chuck Oliver Show, and oh my gosh, how much fun. Let's get in the DeLorean. We'll go back 2 hours. We had Joe Hamilton join us. Of course, that's every Thursday. The Game Plan with Joe Hamilton, brought to you by Low T Nation. Appreciate Joe Ham making time for us, coming in, talking a little ACC, as well as BYU, Coastal Carolina, and the challenge of finding out who your opponent is, and then 48 hours later running out of the tunnel in Conway, South Carolina. That's what BYU was doing. They arranged that thing basically, I say 2.5 days. Got that thing squared away, and so BYU's got a game on Saturday. Coastal Carolina, they're undefeated, 9-0, as is BYU. I think this is only the 6th time in college football history there has been a matchup of 2 undefeated teams in a December regular season game. I think it's the 6th time, not a bowl game, not an SEC title game, anything like that. It's either the 5th or 6th time, so that's what we're getting with BYU and Coastal Carolina, and this time yesterday the game didn't exist. So that was one of the things we talked about with Joe Ham, what that challenge is. Seth Emerson came on talking Georgia as they try to wrap up their final 2 games this year, and they move on to the bowl game and off season and figure out the quarterback thing and whatever else. It's just been a real disappointing season for Dog fans because you thought you had everything lined up at least to get back to Atlanta, and that's not going to happen now almost certainly. Jordy Culotta talking to LSU Tigers, and then just now Zach Abolverdi, the beat writer now for the Gainesville Sun, talking Gators. As again, they're looking to take care of Tennessee, and Tennessee is a talented enough team. I was talking about this with Zach. They could win that game, but they're just not going to win that game. Can Gray do X and Garantano do Y and Palmer do Z? Times 5. All of that stuff can happen times 5. It's just not going to happen because this isn't a video game. It is not about speed ratings and strength and explosiveness and agility. Hey, he's got a 98 on agility. That's not what it is. It's about mindset and caring and buy-in and mentality. And right now, there's a whole lot of that in the good column in Gainesville. Ain't much of that in the good column in Knoxville. So, again, I appreciate Zach coming on. Dan Matthews will be here in just a minute. But right now, I'm going to wrap it up with a closing argument.
The King's Closing Arguments. Presented by the best closing attorneys in the business, Alexander Shannara and Associates.
Jeremy Pruitt was asked a question. His answer is about a whole lot more than just 15 practices. David Ubben, who writes for The Athletic, covers Tennessee. He asked Jeremy Pruitt if the Vols would accept a bowl bid if they are invited. Even if the Vols finish with a losing record, would they accept a bowl bid? Jeremy Pruitt's response, quote, absolutely will accept that bowl bid. And then it's about experience and practices and getting the kids ready and a bowl trip and all of that stuff. That's not what it's about. Not just what it's about. I read from his contract extension. Announced 2 days before the season opener this year. If you look at Jeremy Pruitt's contract, it's not just here's your salary for the year and this is what you'll get in the envelope every 15 days. There are incentives. Winning an SEC championship game. He was going to be paid a $300,000 bonus. Now he'll be paid a $400,000 bonus. Well, that one's not coming into play this year. Appearing in the SEC championship game, he was only going to get $100,000. Now he'd get $200,000. So you understand where all this is going, and none of them are going to apply because Tennessee just is not very good this year. And an incentive, a reward for an achievement. That's what this is supposed to be. Well, Tennessee sits at 2-5. I can't imagine there be many rewards, many incentives for a head coach who not only is 2-5, his team has lost 5 straight games by double digits. Good coaches don't lose 5 straight games by double digits. They have. So none of this is in play. Winning the national title, he was going to get $500,000 if it happened. Now it's $1.5 million. Can I go ahead and kick in? If Jeremy Pruitt wins a national championship at Tennessee, it's $5 million. I got the other 3.5. All right, it's $5 million. Appearing in a playoff game, reaching the playoffs, New Year's Six game, all the way down at the bottom, playing in a bowl game. Jeremy Pruitt will receive $200,000 if his 2-8 Tennessee Vols play in a bowl game. It doesn't say winning record. It doesn't say 500. It doesn't say anything in the conference standings. It says playing in a bowl game, previously $100,000. As of September 24th, 2 days before the opener, new contract, Jeremy Pruitt's going to make $200,000 if his team finishes 2-8 and they get invited to the Music City Bowl or the Birmingham Bowl or the Mobile Bowl or the Charlotte Bowl or the Any Bowl. $200,000. So, yeah, he responded, absolutely, we will accept the bowl bid, and it ain't just about the 15 practices. That is my closing argument, brought to you by the law offices of Alexander Shannara and Associates, wherever you're at in the Deep South, whether it's Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, wherever. If you need legal expertise, you need Alexander Shannara and Associates. Dan Matthews, how are you?
2009, by the way, for what you just mentioned. That was the last time we had a pre-bowl meeting of 2 undefeated teams, and that, of course, was Florida and Alabama. Bama winning that one, going on to the Rose Bowl. Before that, 1969, Texas and Arkansas. So,
the Nixon game.
That's it. There you go. Yeah, it's going to be a really tough couple of days for those GAs and analysts there at those schools. But a guy who, really I think has been an interesting storyline this season, Chuck, and we haven't talked about him a lot, is Rhett Lashley, the Miami offensive coordinator, because people could say, yeah, you've got Derek King, and when you have Derek King, it makes life a lot easier. But he's also been on the fair end of criticism coming his way, where you could say, however, the exit happened at Auburn, he left or he was told to leave, whatever it happened.
Didn't he go to UConn?
He went to UConn, and that's what surprised people. And he went there, had a little bit of success. SMU, same deal, success there as well. Now, some people might look at him and say, no, he's not somebody that I'd look at to be a head coach. And you're probably going to be right this cycle, because I think there are going to be ADs that say, I want to see if he can do it a little bit more. But I will say this about him. He has now proven, because he had a good offense at Auburn, he was able to have good offense at SMU, and now, Derek King or not, he has made that offense at Miami night and day better. If you're a college AD out there and you're looking for somebody to maybe spruce up your offense and make sure that you are able to go to the next level as a team, then absolutely make a run at him, pay a little extra, or maybe even a wild card. Whatever his recruiting is, how you think he can lead a program, maybe he is your guy that you do look at, because I saw him on some lists for some openings, and I said, that's interesting. But if he's offered, strike while the iron's hot and go.
Yeah, I would absolutely suggest Rhett Lashley do that if he gets an opportunity. I am not convinced. I'm impressed this year. I'm really, really, really impressed. But, when Doug Nussmeier was the OC at Alabama, and then the next year he was the OC at Michigan, he didn't do that voluntarily. You don't leave Alabama voluntarily to go to Michigan. You certainly don't leave Auburn voluntarily to go to UConn. But like I said, he has rehabbed the reputation certainly this year. I'm impressed. I just ain't convinced about it. All right, wraps it up on the Thursday. Appreciate everybody's input. Give me 22 hours. I will recharge those batteries. Be back this time tomorrow with more college football